Hello. So game week 28. What are we up to? Deadline is not there. Deadline is Saturday, 11 o'clock. So a couple of days. Yeah, I was going to make a video yesterday. I was trying to get my head around everything. There's quite a lot to chew on at the moment. A lot of things to think about. I thought I'd have another day to think about it and haven't got much clearer. I think I was going to talk today about immediate plans, game week 28, 29, and then have a little talk about chip strategy at the end. I'm just going to waffle my thoughts. I don't think I've got much to add that hasn't already been said, but I don't know. I might have a few other random thoughts in there, so I'm just going to waffle. So immediately in the immediate game week 28, here's my team. I've got a few problems. There's a lot of other people got a lot of other problems as well, but I think I'm just going to focus on my team for now. There's so many like permutations at the moment. I can only just about keep up with my own team. But I've got Dango, Raul Jimenez, Rico Lewis, Trent, and captaincy kind of issues that I need to think about. Oh, and Isak as well. So these are all players that may or may not play. The rest seem all right. Dango, I think is going to be benched, but there's a small chance he won't be. The reason I think he's going to be benched is because I just look back through Bournemouth's minutes, and if you go back here, like when they were all fit, Semenyo, Kluivert, Evan Nilsson, and Tavernier, they all played, and Dango wasn't playing. He was getting benched during that period. And then it wasn't until Tavernier got injured, that's when Dango started playing. And then when Evan Nilsson got injured, Dango moved up front. But it looks like Brooks and Tavernier are kind of like, as Tavernier's coming back, he's taking that spot over there. Is that on the right, I guess? And now that Evan Nilsson's coming back, he's taking Dango's spot. And basically, I think if they're all fit, Semenyo, Kluivert, Dango, and Tavernier, I feel like they're going to play. Now, that's just my logic looking at the numbers. I'm not a Bournemouth fan. Maybe there is a chance that Dango might keep his place. Is he better than Tavernier? Could he play on the left and Semenyo on the right or something like that? I don't know. So my plan is but I don't know. I don't feel confident. So at the moment, I think I'm going to bench him unless I hear something else from the press conferences or something. I think I'm going to bench him for now and see if he plays. If he plays, great. If he doesn't, I could have a problem in 29 because I've got like Dango, Raul Jimenez, and Rico Lewis. So he could be a problem. But for now, he's going to be benched. Raul Jimenez, he missed 2 in a row, didn't he? So normally I was anticipating that he would miss 1. So where are we? Game week 28 is 27. Fulham. It was here. So 26, 27. And then Fulham. I was hoping he'd play both. I did think he might get benched in that one, and he did get benched, but he also got benched in the Man United game as well. Now, I don't know, maybe it's the FA Cup, and so they're just letting Muniz play, but it does smell a little bit like, is Muniz now the number 1 now, and he's switched around, and now he's going to start playing, because they did that earlier in the season, where they kind of switched around. So I need to keep an eye on that. I need to find out some Fulham fans. At the moment, I think I'm going to chance it and play Raul Jimenez, but he has been trolling me this season. I've noticed a lot, and even that game when I finally realised that he'd been trolling me, and I actually played him against. I benched him against Wolves because I thought, you know what, I think I've figured him out now. I think he's going to be benched. I benched him against Wolves. I still couldn't get away from his curse because Isak got injured, and I put him first bench. And the reason I put him first bench above Mikalenko was because I thought he's going to troll me. And if I bench him, he's going to play. And if I don't bench him, he's going to start. So I put him first bench, and he got me 1 point. I can't escape his trolling. So that probably means that if I play him now, he's going to get benched against Brighton. So I need to try and do some research on him a little bit more. At the moment, I think I'm going to play him. But yeah, I'm a bit nervous about Raul Jimenez. I think he's going to troll me again. We shall see. There's a lot of things. There's so much to think about at the moment. This game week, I've got answers for some of it, but a lot of it I don't have answers to. So I'm just going to kind of mind dump in this video, and then as we go through, some of it I still have unanswered questions. Isak, at the moment, I'm thinking he's going to start. There's been a few pictures of him in training. It feels like I feel fairly good he's going to start, but there were some rumours that he wouldn't, but this just internet rumours. I wouldn't pay attention to that too much. So at the moment, I think he's going to start, but I would need some more concrete rumours. I might look at Jump the Waves predictions on Twitter, their lineup predictions, and see if how likely he is to start. But at the moment, he's in. I think he'll be okay. Trent is one I'm a little worried about. He's another one that I'm going to have to wait for the lineup predictions because he played all 90 in the PSG game, and Liverpool are here. Very short turnaround there, like just 2 days break. Southampton 2 days, and it's a very easy game at home. The only thing on the side of same with Salah on the side of them playing against Southampton is that firstly they just had a rest in the FA Cup, so they've had a nice week off there, all of their players. International break here, quite a big gap here, although that's the EFL final. And also the last time they rested some players against Plymouth, they got knocked out of the FA Cup. So Slot might be a little bit more wary about resting players in a game like Southampton, especially as they're chasing the league still. They may want to keep up form. I don't know. These are all arguments in favour of the idea that they might play and play well against Southampton, especially if they're trying to up their game against a big team like Paris Saint-Germain. They might want to keep their rhythm up. They might absolutely smash Southampton. Who knows? Just for confidence and stuff. So possibly, but then he may just get rested. So I'm going to have to wait for the Jump the Wave predictions for that one and just see what we might get a leak as well. Possibly they play at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon here. So you may get a leak. So he's another one I'm going to have to keep my eye on. At the moment, I'm just going to play him. I've got Mikalenko against Wolves, which is fine as a bench spot. But and I need to think of my bench order here because I did that last game week. Benched Raul Jimenez and put him first. If I really think Dango is going to be benched, maybe I should put Mikalenko first. Probably. So I might have a little think about that. So that's it though. So that's where my team's at. Captaincy, Palmer or Salah. I think I'm on Salah. He got taken off 5 minutes early. Is that a clue that he's going to play for Southampton? Maybe not. But I think he'll play. Sometimes he misses like one game a season, and this could be quite a prime fixture to miss. But if he misses it, he's probably going to miss the whole game to be rested, if that's the case. And all the arguments I just said, he just had a rest and he's chasing records and stuff. So I think I'll captain him. Don't think there's much in it. If we have a look at where are we, game week 28. Let's see who the model says is the best captain. I'm pretty sure it's Salah by miles. Yeah, it's almost 5 points better off than Palmer because Southampton are just so bad. And he is a lot better than Palmer, quite a bit better than Palmer. If you take minutes off of that as well, he might shunt his numbers down a little bit, but I don't think I'll overthink that one. So Salah cap. You can't not captain the best player FPL has ever seen in the best season he's ever had against one of the worst teams we've ever had in FPL, in Premier League history, at home. Bit crazy. So that's 28. 29. I almost want to reset that, don't I? Let's just reset it, go back to 29. So I'm going to bench Salah. Probably bench Munoz. I want to bench the players who I want the most in game week 30. And I think I'm going to want Munoz in 30. Just read an Andy Martin post about Munoz playing in Colombia. I don't think it'll be a problem, but in this international break, Munoz, his Crystal Palace, he's got Colombia Thursday night, which is maybe technically Friday in British time. I don't know how the time works. I think he's got another game around about here. Then he's got Fulham in the FA Cup and then Southampton. I think he'll be all right. It's fairly spaced out. I think he's an Andy Martin just trolling again. But but something to bear in mind. We've got international break and he does go all the way to Colombia. But I think he'll start Southampton. Good fixture. I want him for that. And then the other player I was going to bench that's 30, sorry. So it's either Isak, Trent, Isak or Trent are the other two. Isak, I think I want to keep now. I was going to sell him to Cunha, but Cunha's out now. And I'm not really I'm not really on the Haaland train. So I think I'm going to keep Isak because I want him against Brentford in 30. He's another one I want. Whereas Trent is the one that I would be the happiest to give up against Everton, because Everton are going to be, that is a good fixture for Trent, to be honest, as well. Yeah, I don't really want to give up any of them, but Everton, they could have a sting in their tail. They might be able to catch a goal. It's the derby. Yeah, but at the moment, I'm thinking I'm going to sell Trent. I'll have 2 free transfers, so Trent, and then I've got, again, Lewis, Dango, and Raul Jimenez could all be problems. So I just need to keep an eye on their minutes. Hopefully, Dango and Jimenez will all play, and so will Lewis. Maybe they've got some more injuries. Maybe he'll play, and it'll be fine. But I've only got 1 transfer to cover that, and I don't know if a hit would be worth it to hit some of these players out. Possibly, I'll have to do the calculations. Because even if they get 1 point off the bench or a chance of points off the bench, it makes a hit slightly less worth it. Whereas a hit for a blanker is at least, they're guaranteed 0. So that's my situation there. I don't think Palmer will be capped. Probably Chris Wood. That's 29. Yeah, I think that's it. Other people might be free hit, and I won't get into other people's teams. Then going forward, so let's have a little look at chip strategy then. I feel like I missed some things out. I probably have. One other thing I was just going to say, actually, I suppose Isak replacements as well before I go on to chip strategy. If I was to sell Isak, there are some replacements for him that people are looking at. Like if he is out, I would probably go for. I'm thinking Evan Ilson or Wissa or Marmoush. I think are the players. Evan Ilson, if he's back. The problem with Evan Ilson though is that with Bournemouth, he might miss this game here, Ipswich. He has once in the past missed a game when they had 3 in a week. He got rested for one of them. And if he's back, and this is after the international break, he'll almost definitely play the FA Cup game, and then that Ipswich at home game might be the easiest. I would say there's been other times in the past when he's played. Evan Nilsson's played 3 in a week though, fine. So, and I think Iriola said something about his injury being something that isn't. It's not a problem about fitness. It's just I don't know. So I think once he's fit enough to play, he can just play again. He'll be fine. So I don't know. It's a bit hit and miss that game. It puts a slight doubt in my mind of whether he'll play or not though. That Ipswich game, he could get benched for it. Wissa is the most nailed, and I think my model has Wissa quite high, even though his fixtures are a bit tricky, especially like Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal here. Not ideal. I guess you'd only want him for these two though. Aston Villa, Bournemouth, maybe Newcastle. Newcastle got an obliterated defence with no Hall or Botman at the moment, so maybe it's okay to go for him. Chelsea not too bad at home, so Wissa's okay. And then Mamouche. The only problem with Mamouche is it's Pep. It's Pep roulette. I just feel like I'm waiting for Pep roulette to strike. It's always the problem with Man City. Now maybe it won't. But, I mean, Foden just got rested. He'd been starting loads and he got rested the last game week. You just never know. And so he's a bit of an unproven, unknown quantity at the moment. But I don't know. He's on the radar. He's got some good numbers in his old team that he was at. So, Mamouche. They're the 3 I'm looking at if I had to go there. But again, at the moment, I'm presuming that Isak's going to be okay. So... Oh, yeah, and then defender replacements as well for 29. One thing I think is important to think about is value coming up later, because, like, I want to get Mateta. And so I don't think I'm going to be able to get to Vardiel, because I think I'm going to want... You got to look at your future moves and see who you want. Like, I think there's a good chance I'm going to want Mateta in 30. He's like the number 1 player I want to get. But I'm not going to have the money for that, and I may have the money for Vardiel, but I've got a sneaky feeling last time I worked it out, the two defenders, if I do Lewis as well, I think I want to go to somebody like Howson and Eight Nori. Eight Nori maybe could be a good one. One of the good things about Eight Nori is that he's got a guaranteed fixture in 34 and it's against Leicester and it's a good one. He's the kind of player who you may not want to play every game. You're going to want him in 29, maybe some of these two games. You could bench him for a couple, use him in 34. But I think the only reason why he might be valuable in 34 is if you're thinking of wildcarding after 34, which is one of my possible thoughts. And so if I'm kind of building a team, if I was going to wildcard instead of 31, 32, actually see if I can delay it to 35-ish, then he's handy in that scenario, but just staying open to options. So yeah, be wary of who you're transferring to. If you want to, keep the money for players later down the line in 30, 31, you might need to get cheaper defenders. This is what I'm thinking. So somebody like Howson and Eight Nori maybe a Nottingham Forest defender, Nico Williams. So let's end that there. Could look at mids, but I won't bother. So let's have a look at chip strategy. So what have we got here? Yeah, so it's hard to predict. We've had the FA Cup now. We've got the quarter-final draw. I mean, everything that's been said in other podcasts is about the same. This is my kind of rough projections. Yeah, it's very 50-50. Could swing both ways. So I think, one of the big questions I've been looking at is, who would you rather build a team out of? The players in 34 or the blankers in 34? Because there's some teams that are definitely playing in 34, and there'll be some more soon that will be guaranteed to play in 34 after the FA Cup. Once we get the announcement and all that stuff, and then there'll be some teams that will be doubling in 33. And I think there's a question of who would you rather build a team out of? Would you rather build a team out of Liverpool players, maybe not Tottenham, possibly Chelsea, Parma? There's some good Everton, Wolves players. Newcastle are great, got some good picks in Newcastle. Or would you rather build your team out of Aston Villa, Man City, and then some of these teams that might double? Brighton, because basically what will happen is that you'll build your team for the long run, and you're either going to build your team for this double here and then free hit 34, or you build your team for 34 and then free hit 33, is one of the big structural questions, I think. So that's one of the big structural questions. I think some people are looking at Newcastle Crystal Palace here and saying, well, Newcastle are guaranteed to play there as well. If Crystal Palace are going to play there as well, it makes sense to kind of build a team with Newcastle Crystal Palace players as your basis foundation, and then free hit to the other teams. But something to say about that, though, is that whoever gets to the final of the FA Cup, there is a chance that they'll both blank in these game weeks and both double in these game weeks. And so you'll have the same thing if it's like, I don't know, Man City, Aston Villa or something. You'll have Man City doubling there, and then blanking here. And so the same logic still applies. It might be nice if you prefer to build your team out of Man City, Aston Villa players. It might be better to build your team with all the doublers in mind than just free hit in this one and maybe use transfers in this one if it's a blank. So I think that core question of who would you rather build a team out of is quite central. And at the moment, I'm leaning towards the 34 players, not the blankers. So Liverpool's and Chelsea's, Newcastle's. Who have we got? What is there another team that's guaranteed to play? Brighton. See, the worst case scenario, I like Nottingham Forest and Brentford players. I like Bournemouth players as well, and probably Crystal Palace, Arsenal. They're the teams that I want. But if Crystal Palace win and Bournemouth win and Nottingham Forest win, that would be the worst case scenario for me. If all three of those teams win, I'm going to have to start thinking about maybe building a team out of the blankers rather than the players. And if they all lose, I'm loving it. I'm definitely building a team out of these players, and I'll just free hit in the blankers, free hit in the 33. Particularly Man City. They're a team I've never liked because of Pep Roulette. They're hard to predict. and they'll be hard to predict for the free hit in 33. But I'd rather just try and predict them for one double than to try and predict them for the whole spell from 30 to 38. Brighton as well, tricky team. They rotate a lot. It's tricky to nail down who you want. Aston Villa, the only player I'd like is Rodgers because he's cheap. Watkins is a bit expensive. Yeah. So it's that kind of thing I'm thinking. Yeah, I'd rather build a free hit out of these guys. So one thing though that could scupper it. Yeah, so that's the main question. Who do you want to build a team out of? And it depends on which way these swing, 33 or 34. There are other complications though. Like people have mentioned that these teams that double in 33, doubling before a semi-final, you may get rotation. So I'm going to have to think about that. When's the best time to free hit? You probably still take a punt, but I don't know. I'd have to factor that in. Like, is it going to be hard to predict? I mean, players like Watkins and Rodgers probably going to play both. You might be able to predict it, but something to bear in mind. And then there's also 36 and 37 we need to think about because that could get ugly. One thing as well I wanted to say is, so when it comes to like trying to figure out what's the most likely scenario here of where the blanks and the doubles are all going to go, the key question I'm thinking of is it fair to have one team play in the midweek before the final or the semi-final and to not have their opponent also play in that midweek? How much would the fixture reschedulers value that? I feel like that, if that's an important thing, and I feel like it might be, then I feel like that could be a key to a lot of this because of the fact that it's possible that like Man City and Aston Villa will have to play in the midweek before 34. That's a possibility. It will just have to go there. And it's the same with this one here, Aston Villa and Tottenham. If Aston Villa get to the final, Tottenham are still in the Europa, at least the semi-finals, then that Aston Villa-Tottenham blank would have to go in 36. And therefore, if that's the situation and they don't want to be unfair to their opponents, then wouldn't it be fair that if Man City are their opponents, that the Man City Bournemouth game would just have to get put in 36 as well, to be fair? Even though it could go in 37, or if they're out of Europe, it could go in one of these, who knows? But and if that's the case, that they're playing it like that, then it kind of suggests that the 34 blanks will just go in 33, 37 blanks will go in 36, for the sake of fairness. Now, in the there's two things that scupper that. Firstly, in the past, there has been precedent that, like last season, I think it was, Liverpool played in the EFL final and they played in the midweek before, but Chelsea didn't play in the midweek before. Liverpool had a double, and so that was kind of unfair. But the argument there was that Liverpool were in Europe and Chelsea weren't. So it was kind of like, this is what you get for being in Europe. You get extra fixtures in midweeks. So it was kind of justified. But in this scenario, some of these teams that might get forced to play in the midweek before the semis, like Crystal Palace, they're not in Europe. It's Arsenal that are in Europe. So it's not really their fault that they have to be there. And so it's a little bit different. And same with Aston Villa. You know, it's not their fault they're in the Europa. It's Tottenham in the Europa League final, not them. So it would be a bit unfair that they have to play in the midweek before the final when Man City don't. They could have their fixture in 30, 37 still. And what was I going to say? Mine's gone blank. Hang on. Mine's gone blank. 1 second. I think I was just going to say that one of the other things that scuppers it though is this Nottingham Forest game being scheduled for the Monday, on game week 33, and so that scuppers it all a little bit. Actually, let me just find something. 1 second. Sorry, just wanted to find this. So this is these are the fixture TV picks for April. And Spurs and Nottingham Forest have been scheduled for Monday the 21st of April. So that is over here, game week 33. It's that game there. And so this will be FA Cup semi-final weekend. it's theoretically possible that Nottingham Forest could play on the Monday and the Sunday, and then have their double go on the Thursday. But they may not get a say over whether they play on the Sunday or the Saturday, because I think that's up to the BBC. I don't know whether they picked it yet or not, but I think BBC get to pick. I think somebody might know better than me. And if they decide that they want, this is the semis, isn't it? So if it's Nottingham Forest versus Man City or something, and so they won't have picked yet. If they want that on the Saturday, then Nottingham Forest can't have a double here. So they may not get much of a say in it. It's not really much time anyway. But I'm also thinking that I don't know how locked in stone that fixture is, though, because if you look back here, these fixtures here, and James from Planet FPL, his chip strategy videos are brilliant, so definitely watch them. But if you look back here, these fixtures, he mentioned this. So these fixtures here, these are almost certainly going to have to move. But there's nothing in here about these fixtures that says could possibly move. Like a lot of these other fixtures, they have a little star on it saying due to movement or subject to possible movement, depending on FA Cup and Europe and all this kind of stuff. There's no notice like that on the Nottingham Forest Spurs game, but there's no notice like that on these games either. And yet they're probably going to have to move, because here's the FA Cup here. They're all scheduled for that Tuesday there. So basically, at the moment, the FA Cup quarterfinals all have to be played on the Saturday, and if any of them are played on the Sunday, then some of these fixtures will have to be moved. There's no way around it. If they want FA Cup quarterfinals on the Sunday, some of these fixtures will have to be moved. So again, I don't know when the announcement will be for that, whether it's happened or not, but BBC and ITV will probably bid over those or something like that, or pick them. So basically, these fixtures, they can move, because they have to be movable, because they're going to have to happen with that one, and this is even further away. So the possibility that fixture is not necessarily set in stone, I think, is a possibility. I'm guessing. This is me just guessing. And so I still kind of feel like if that's the way they're going to base it, that if a team has to double in 33, it's not fair to have one team double in 33 and have their opponents not double in 33. Then I think they're going to have to put 34s and 33s and 37s and 36s. But there's just a lot of variables, and I don't really know. So it's difficult to predict. And obviously, teams being in Europe, the more teams can stay in Europe, the better. The easier it is for us to kind of nail down what can and can't happen. So Arsenal and Aston Villa doing well, Liverpool doing quite well. I don't even know if Liverpool matter anymore in terms of them being in Europe. Don't think it makes much difference for Liverpool, but Aston Villa, Man United, Arsenal, and then Tottenham particularly. We really want Tottenham to stay in Europe so that it blocks, because the Man United. I don't think Man United only matters for these two spots, the semi-final. The final doesn't matter anymore, because Man United are playing Chelsea and they're both out, so there's no kind of clash there anymore. It's just these two spots that could force the Bournemouth Man United game to have to be played in 33. But the Tottenham are still blocking that one, so they're still going to forcing Aston Villa to play there if they get to the final. Yeah, so that would be nice. If Tottenham get knocked out, or if Aston Villa get knocked out, then that pressure will go, and we might not get doubles in 36. But so yeah, this video is not going to be particularly clear. I'm slightly sleep deprived today as well, so I'm like, my head's not very clear. Anyway, so that's what I'm thinking though. Yeah, pick a team. Who do you want to pick a team out of, the blankers or the doublers? The blankers or the players in 34, and build your kind of free hit around that. And then I am kind of thinking in general, I'm trying to focus on the big picture, 30 to 38, picking solid players and trying not to get pulled around by the chips too much, because they can be a bit trappy. And then I'm just kind of like the triple captain. I almost don't get, it's like an afterthought. I might even just triple captain in 38 if I had to. You get a lot of goals historically there's more goals in 38 than any other game week. Yeah, triple captain, but if I can get it in 32, great. If not, if I bench boost in 32, then I'll just hope that I get a good one in 36. The bench boost is tricky to figure out because we're probably not going to get 15 doublers. And if you try to do it, out of these teams, I don't know. I mean, in a scenario where Crystal Palace win and Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth all win and they get doubles in 34, in 33 they get doubles, and you want to build a bench boost out of that, maybe, but generally I don't think it's going to be possible to get a bench boost because you might get, instead of having 4 singlers, you get 4 doublers. You might get an extra 20 points or something max out of that, maybe 15, 20 points. But then the payment for that, by having probably crapper players who you're not going to want for all these surrounding game weeks, there might be a cost to that. So I think it's going to end up, you're going to end up bench boosting single game week players, and then trying to figure out where the best bench boost is tricky. I haven't figured it out yet, but the only thought I was thinking is like, when you bench boost with single game week players, who's it going to be? It's going to be your second keeper, your 4th and 5th defender, and then your 8th attacker, one of your attackers. And who is most likely to be your second keeper and your 4th and 5th defender? If you start from there, and if you think you're probably going to have Gabriel, Trent, Munoz, Vardiel, these players will be your first defenders. Who's likely to be your 4th and 5th defender and sub-keeper? And I'm thinking, it's probably going to be cheap players. It's probably going to be maybe Bournemouth, maybe Nottingham Forest, maybe Nori. So you could just kind of focus on them, focus on those teams particularly, and see when they have good fixtures. Like Bournemouth have got Leicester in 38. I don't know if that's a possible bench boost game week, or Wolves 31, 34, Nottingham Forest got a few easy ones dotted around in 36. Maybe could be a good bench boost. 36 could be nice. That could work. If you get doubles there as well, and you got Nottingham Forest players, and you can just bench boost against Leicester at home. If we get doubles, pardon me, Brentford as well. Maybe from Bomo's just your 8th attacker or something like that. I don't know. So that's all I'm thinking about the bench boost. It's hard to kind of know where's the best place to put it. And one other thought, I'm guessing we may be able to figure out what's the 36 doubles are going to look like at this point, because once we know what's going in 33, we'll know what these blanks are, and if they announce where they're going to go, hopefully they'll announce all of them, even if some of them are staying in 34. We should know where all these blanks are going. Some of them they may say we'll announce at a further date, like the Newcastle Crystal Palace one. Maybe it'll go in 35, 36, 37, I don't know. 34, 35 most likely. Maybe 36. We should be able to kind of like work out then what's left over, what's likely to go in these other places. But 37, we might not be able to figure out if that's going in 36 or staying in 37. Although, well, Tottenham will have to get through a quarter final to force that one into 36. And Aston Villa will have to get through their semi-final as well. Yeah, it might be tricky. I just don't know what the outlook, because basically I'm trying to think, do you just bench boost now in 32 while you know what it looks like, or do you take a gamble and save your bench boost for 36 with the risk that it actually is rubbish and there's no doubles there? I think that's something we'll have to think about. Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't really have many more thoughts to add than anybody else has added. I watched a FPL mates video. He's quite good with his chip strategy videos, and he did mention there's a possibility that Nottingham Forest Brentford could go in 32. I guess that is possible because they're playing on the Monday here, and it's only like 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks notice to put it in 32, but then I don't know, just something to be aware of. I guess it's possible that you could get another double in 32, but then that wouldn't make massive logical sense if they, because it's not like, the whole thing about keeping it fair so that both teams get a game before their semi-final. That wouldn't really make much sense, but I don't know. It's a possibility anyway. I think I'm going to leave it there. There's so many things to talk about, but I think I'll leave it there. So, okay. Thanks for listening. See you later. Bye bye.